Hello and welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I'm your backup host, Cesar Hernandez. If Wiso is Carlos Kameni, then I'm Guillermo Ochoa here, stepping in here to step in his place. Hopefully, I'm not like Ochoa in his first game where he allowed 3 goals. But in that second game, the one from over the weekend, he had a clean sheet. So hopefully, I'll have a clean sheet. I don't know what that means, maybe what that really implies here, but so we're gonna talk about the Clasico Nacional. We're gonna talk about Ochoa. We're gonna talk about La Tri. We're gonna talk about the Champions League. But before we get into that, let's first meet our guest, our very special guest. Let's meet Tom Marshall, who was completely unaware of daylight savings time in the United States. I don't know why he should be aware of it. It's not your responsibility. You're in Mexico. But how are you doing, Tom? How you been?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I was just going for a little trot around the park there. It's like he says, I sent me a message saying, "Tom, get back," and I'm like, ah. So yeah, but looking forward to it. Obviously, a great Clasico. Bit of bare background today. Going to be moving house in a short while, so the scarves are in the wash.
Nice,
So
that's good.
apologies for that. It's a bit of a stripped down version. Just the Puma sticker up there today for entertainment.
Well, now I know who his favorite team is, Austin. Tom, you had to keep the Pumas, all right. And we also have, speaking of Mexico City, but not Pumas, speaking of another team from Mexico City that someone on this panel may or may not, root for every now and then. We have Jason Markets, but he's no longer in the FA. He's now somewhere in the outskirts of Philadelphia. Jason, how are you doing? How you
I'm
been?
good.
I love how
Just,
no one actually knows where Jason is.
I like to keep things mysterious. I don't want to. I don't want fans showing up at my door, kind of thing. So, just a little mystery to it. Makes sense. But doing well. A lot to talk about. Still tired. I mean, this daylight savings, and then that start time for the Clasico last night. I'm a little sleepy today, so hopefully I don't nod off toward the end of this.
Oh man, I loved it. That was perfect for me. I got to sleep in a little bit. I got to prepare. It was great. I didn't feel too odd about having a beer at that hour. So I was all right with that. So speaking of that Clasico, Tom, you were there. We saw your Periscope. We saw your stuff up on Facebook. You were there. You were in the middle of it. You were hanging out with fans. You saw the thrilling, epic match, and you mentioned on Twitter too that you had a feeling that it was going to be a good one, and you were entirely right. You even predicted the right score. You predicted the right score, but I'm not sure if you actually won our Mexican Soccer Show overall prediction for the weekend. But for that specific match, Tom, how was it? Give us a little your thoughts on the match. Your
No,
general.
it was brilliant. I mean, it was just a pleasure to be there. To be honest, it was like I arrived about 4 hours before, and the atmosphere already going. The people are just drinking beers on the parking lot. It's like what's it called, what they do in that American football, the tailgating. That's the thing. Yeah, tailgating with the barbecues and all that stuff, and it's brilliant. The banda music's out there, the gente, the mariachi are blasting out, and it's an unbelievable atmosphere because the fans are mixed as well. And then I think for the first time in a relatively long while, it had a game that lived up to a brilliant atmosphere. I mean, I thought the game was absolutely amazing. I mean, you're there writing about it, and it's, you've got to file your stories within 10 minutes of the kickoff, and you're like, oh man, like 5 minutes to go, you're like, no way, what am I going to write? Like, I think there's a really good chance Chivas could have come back, and then 7 minutes goes up. It's like 7 minutes, and all of us in the press box were just like, this is an absolute joke, this game now. But yeah, I mean, from the actual what happened on the pitch point of view, obviously there's a lot of talk about the referees. I'm sure we'll delve into it there. But I mean, America won, and I think that's the bottom line. I mean, Chivas fans are obviously going to be disappointed, but America got the job done. They went away. They went to Guadalajara. They scored 2 goals. Did they play the best? No, but they put the ball in the net twice, and Chivas didn't do that. And that's been the story of Chivas' season. And you could have predicted it at half time. You really could have predicted at least the score. You couldn't have predicted everything that happened, but America's got those individuals. And I thought Darwin Quintero gets that. Peralta lays it off for him in the box, and bang, goal. I mean, it took like 2 seconds, just a random long ball over the top, and then Ruben Sambuesa, a little bit of magic against Raul Lopez, who isn't a natural defender, and that showed. That's he's got a lot of potential, Raul Lopez, but he showed on that goal. He should have stopped him. And Sambuesa lobs it over, and Peralta's going to score those kind of headers all day. I mean, that's what he does. So yeah, I thought that at the end of the day, was the referee against Chivas? Yes, but where was the game won and lost? America finished better. And that's been the story of Chivas this season. They're desperate for a centre forward who can score goals.
So recognizing that, Jason, I'm going to go to you on this. People were talking about this last night, but would you say that America deserved to win this game? Would you say because they were the ones who deserved it? Would you say that maybe Chivas, especially with those, with the late opportunities they had, that perhaps they should have been the winners, or at least had a draw in that result?
I mean, they could have gotten a draw, but they didn't. I mean, America deserved to win because they scored twice. I mean, I don't really buy into that, the deserving to win a game. I mean, Chivas played fine, but, I mean, their play was symbolic of their play. I mean, what we've seen over the past month plus from Chivas, they've been playing pretty well of late. The midfield work is great. I think Brizuela's really been coming on. The defense has always been pretty solid with Chivas. That's not the problem. They just can't score. They don't score goals. And you saw all of that pressure, and then the play was building up in that second half and all those chances. But it's the same thing with Chivas. They're just not scoring. They just have problems scoring right now. And I think for me, it's really just it's about the roster at this point. I mean, I don't think they have the weapons upset. They don't have the players right now that they're firing at home. I think they had plenty of chances to do so. They just can't. And I think America's play was nothing different than we see from them throughout the season as well. It's sloppy. It's a bit chaotic at times, but it's also those dynamic players who can just kill you on the break, kill you with just like moments of stellar quality, like Darwin displayed. Sapillo being in the right place, and Sambuesa just doing Sambuesa things, just getting the ball in the right spot consistently over and over again. With that being said, you saw the same thing you see from America with the consistent fouling, the sloppy play that way. It leads into all this referee talk that you get with all these America games, and with these big rivalry games as well, because the referees, he's forced into a position where he's making calls constantly. That being said, there's a massive problem in this league with the red card. It's not this game. It's not. Because you scroll through Twitter during that game, you see all the America fans complaining about this official. You see all the Chivas fans complaining about this official, and it goes back and forth because the officiating is just not great in this league. It's a problem. Last week, 6 of 9 games ended with a red card. This week, you have 3 games. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, there's too much fouling. Referees are put in bad positions where they have to dictate and try to control these games, especially a game like that is incredibly difficult to control that game. The amount of pressure that was on that game and just the consistent fouling in that game. That being said, the official was terrible and the red cards were terrible. So I don't know. What can be said? I think America and Chivas played their normal games. And we got the result that was probably warranted because that's who they were.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go on, sister. Go on.
No, that's entirely true. And I think going back to what you said earlier, it seems like maybe the big glaring problem would be Omar Bravo. Maybe the big glaring problem is, Chivas have looked good this season, and they've scored the first goal in a lot of these matches, but they still need someone up top to be able to provide for them. And Tom, I'll go over to you on this, and it's a little bit relevant. We got a question earlier today from @TomH_36. I'm going to say he's a friend of the show just because I always see him tweeting towards us. And he says, are Almeida's tactics too one-dimensional? Should Chivas attempt less crosses? And I'm referencing that because I saw that last night that Dedos Lopez had about 16 crosses in that match, which was, the guy was playing. It seemed like he was playing his heart out right there. Maybe not defensively, but in the attack. So would you say that it's it's a little too one-dimensional for Chivas?
I'm not sure. I don't know. You could make the counter argument that Bravo should have scored, and then if he does score, then it's 2-2. He scored with a header. It was an unbelievable cross late on from Raul Lopez. I think Chivas had the chances in the end to win the game. So I'm not sure. I think that in terms of one-dimensional, I think they do need to be a bit tighter. I mean, I think that they've got the game plan, but I'm not necessarily sure they've got the players to carry it out right now. I mean, the intensity, it's good to see, it's very attacking, but I just basically think, I know it might sound a bit simplistic, but they need a striker. I think if you put Gignac in this Chivas team, I mean, I think they'd be doing very well. I think they'd be up there on the brink of the playoff places. I mean, I think that's the difference. And I'm not going to go out there and blame Omar Bravo because he's, 35, 36 now?
I think he's 36 now, actually.
I mean, he's a veteran. He's done a lot for this club. In 2015, he was unbelievable, and it's like it was a lack of foresight from the directors to not get another striker. I mean, Zaldivar, he's a good player, but I don't think he's there yet. Yeah. Zaldivar, what other teams in Mexico would he get in as a starter? You know what I mean? No. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm not saying he can't become a really good player. But how many starting teams? If you put him in Monterrey, if you put him in Tigres, if you put him in America, he's nowhere near. You know what I mean? He's nowhere near the starting spot. So I think it's unfair to put that pressure on the youngster as well. Michel Vasquez the same. I mean, I just don't think it's the. I don't think it's the same kind of,
So putting both you guys on the spot right here, recognizing the obvious limitations that Chivas have for only being able to bring up Mexican players, which Mexican player would be able to fit into that system? Is there one that comes to mind?
Yeah.
Maybe there isn't one that comes to mind.
There's one that springs to mind, and I thought, and they lost out, and we saw him score the winning goal for America. when Oribe Peralta went from Santos Laguna to America, Chivas should have been in there. They should have paid whatever they were asking because he's a player. If you look at his stats, he's guaranteed goals. He's not Ronaldo, don't get me wrong, he's not going to create things out of nothing, but he works extremely hard and he guarantees you goals. If you put him in the mix and then you put Omar Bravo in the mix, and I think you've got a completely different team there. I honestly do.
No, that's an excellent point. Maybe Peralta, if he was there, I do agree that you do look at those stats that he's had. He sometimes goes 3 or 4 games. Actually, I believe last season he went maybe 6 or 7. Without scoring any goals, but he's still able to provide for America.
Well, both of those goals were brilliant from Peralta. Yeah. I mean, the first one, the way he laid it off for Quintero was like, that just shows such great vision and awareness of your teammates. And then the second one, obviously, the way he draws away from the defender and he knows Sambuesa, that kind of relationship that they've got there was, I mean, that he's very bright. Peralta, he's a really intelligent player.
No, agreed. So. Before, any other thoughts? I know we've been talking about Chivas. We could talk about Chivas in America for a long time.
Just a quick one on America. I mean, when they went 2-0 up and then Cisneros was sent off, and I think it's probably unfair, that decision. I mean, I think the first goal in the first half. I mean, I was there at the end of the game and I didn't know because I'm there in the stadium. I've seen a couple of replays, but you have no commentary. It's very hard when you're watching the game and you're watching the replay. So it's very difficult for me to then blame the ref because even after watching the replay 3 times, I didn't know. I'll be honest. I didn't know whether that should have stood or not. Now, yeah, obviously the way the America players went over to the assistant and then he put the flag up, that's a little bit suspicious. But I mean, in terms of the decision, should it have been a goal? Should it not have been? Probably should have been a goal, but it's taken a long time for people to reach, and even ex-referees to reach that decision. So, but from the American point of view, you're 2-0 up against 10 players, and I don't know. I think Nacho Ambrisse's authority within this team now, you have to question it, even though they won. I mean, they crumbled, they imploded. I mean, Chivas had all the chances not just to draw that game, but to win it. Chivas should have won with the chances that they had. So, what does it say about this America? I think I mentioned on the last show, they failed at the Club World Cup when the pressure was on. They failed against Pumas in the Liguilla when the pressure was on. They've lost by 3 goals against Tigres. They've lost by 3 goals against Pachuca this season. I mean, what does it say about this America team? I don't know. Does it have the bottle? Does it have that big game mentality required? And is that coming then from the coach? I mean, on the chat, I'll be fascinated to know if there's any Americanistas out there, what they think about this team, because I think player for player, I'd argue that they're right up there, probably number 3 in the league. I mean, I'm not like I've not thought about that deeply, but
You talk about talent-wise. Would you say that?
yeah,
Would you say Monterrey and Tigres
yeah.
are number 1 and 2, and after that would be America? Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of others, Pachuca, spring to mind, but I think it's quite defined. Monterrey and Tigres are the best two, and then I think I'd put America number 3. And are they showing on the field that they're the number 3 team? Probably not.
Interesting. Jason, final thoughts on America versus Chivas and that win for them before we look at other scores from Liga MX.
Yeah, I just following up what Tom said. I think it's just that. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen a reliable, consistent America. I think this team has just kind of always been like for the past few seasons now, just kind of been all over the place. They're not dependable. Like you see them kind of give up goals like in spurts and give up possession when they should be holding onto the ball and like just basic things that. I don't think the players on the field need the manager telling them what to do at this point. They should be doing it themselves. So there's just been something a little off. I think there's just, I don't know, there's something missing in that midfield that's just not clicking right now for America. And I think we see it come up. We've been seeing that come up for some time now. But the game overall was fantastic. Tom mentioned being in that atmosphere. And, I mean, that was one thing that really came through just watching at home here. Just like it's been a while since seeing a game at that OmniLife where you could feel the intensity inside the stadium and hear that crowd noise, like so coming through the speakers. That it's been a while, so it was cool seeing that game, and it's terrible for I felt for all the fans in the stadium there because it certainly could have had that draw, could have had a win even with the way they played, but just that finishing still just not fun.
Yeah. Just quick thing that about Chivas because I think they deserve the credit for the way they played, and the fans came out there singing. I mean they were going crazy at the end. They were really seemed to be happy. But Vergara sends the tweet that we won in the loss basically. The loose translation, we won even with the defeat, and it's like you're a big team, you're a massive team. I'm sick of Chivas. Honestly, Chivas is supposed to be the most popular team in the country. Chivas constantly promoting this idea. And it's like, you're not the underdog. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be at all happy with losing. I'm sorry, I know I'm ranting a bit here, but you've won 2 games in 16. Yeah. You shouldn't be happy as an owner. I don't care how well they played or you felt they got robbed or whatever. Before this game, it was all about America the favourites, America the favourite. The last Clasico was the same. Going back Clasico, it's been the same for a few years now. And it's like, Chivas have got to get over this. I mean, it's a wider problem. But come on, it's like, if I was a Chivas fan, I would not be happy with the owner of a massive institution like Chivas coming out. Chivas should be where America are, fighting for titles in the CONCACAF Champions League, going to the Club World Cup, and they're a long way behind. And even though this game, okay, they played decently and stuff, that shouldn't be enough for Chivas fans or the owner to be happy.
And unfortunately, then, just to wrap things up, we could talk about, how Chivas did well. We could talk about how they did look like they were able to at least get a draw at the end. But in the future, maybe most fans won't be talking about that. When people look back at the result, all that really matters is the actual result, and America came away with that victory. So
and Chivas now unlikely to make the playoffs. They need like a bit of they're a long way off now. I mean, it's another wasted season of nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Tom, it sounds like you can talk about this for a long time. I can sense your frustration from over here in San Diego. But looking at the rest of the weekend, because believe it or not, there actually were other games other than Chivas America. Believe it or not. And Jason, we're gonna go to you on this. What game stood out to you? It could be one game, it could be 2 matches. What things stood out to you from the rest of Week 10 of the Liga MX?
I think we said a couple teams that went on the road this week and got a result that was kind of an impressive result and unexpected, I think. I'd first say that Tijuana going to Chiapas and getting the win was pretty impressive. I think it's probably, underrated how difficult it is to go to Chiapas and play. I think Chiapas generally comes out with favorable results at home. It's tough going down to Tuxtla and getting a result. And Tijuana doing that, probably a little bit of a spark there. So it's a good result for them. And then Pumas going to El Volcan and getting the draw. Not a beautiful game by any means. And Tigres certainly a little rocky of late, but still, especially with Libertadores going to Tigres and getting a draw was pretty good for them as well.
Yeah, those were literally the two games that I like starred right, in my little schedule as well. Like other than,
Great
other
minds,
than,
man, great
yeah, I
minds.
know, likewise. No, I'll definitely agree with you the whole Tijuana thing. It looks like they're making quiet progress. They're the only other club other than Cruz Azul actually has only had just one loss. They need to start winning at home if they want to continue being in the top eight. But that's an excellent point as well. And yeah, no, we'll see
What's
we'll
the
see.
distance from Tijuana to Tuxtla Gutierrez as well? Like that's like traveling for Libertadores. Like that's crazy,
Yeah,
crazy far. Like that's a big trip, and like this is a team like Xolos who traditionally don't win on the road. So
yeah.
impressive win, impressive
That's
win.
where all their victories are showing up this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, any other things for you that stood out this weekend in Liga MX? Any games, any players, anything in general?
Mainly Miguel Herrera and La Volpe going at it.
Their fight.
I mean, that was hilarious. I mean, and La Volpe. I mean, there's always been those accusations that in the 2006 World Cup he used to do, some crazy crazy things like superstitious things before games and stuff. And
Yeah, so give us a quick background because some people may not know what happened after the match when the two coaches came together. Like the background of this situation, what kind of started this kind of
well,
like confrontation. So
yeah, I mean, Herrera's kind of like the pupil of La Volpe. Herrera played for La Volpe in Atlante, and he's from the La Volpista school of football. Obviously, you know, having played under him. So yeah, so they're supposed to be like good friends and stuff, and came to the end of the game and they just really go at it. They're really screaming at each other, and Herrera was like, "Yeah, I'm never gonna greet you again," and the problem was that La Volpe didn't want to. It's like kids. This it's like a kindergarten or something. It's like La Volpe didn't want to say hello to Herrera before the game because of some superstition thing,
yeah.
and so he came out onto the bench late. But then Herrera saw him and midway through the game just goes over and says hello. So La Volpe was really not happy about that. But it was stupid, and I don't know. I mean, it doesn't
Which
look good for Herrera.
No, and this is actually, I mean, obviously I'm in the San Diego area, so I've seen, Herrera. It seems like I would have hoped after, his infamous firing that he would from the Mexican national team that he would have moved past this. He would have learned that
Yeah,
like when his emotions like hit that high moment that
kick in.
he walks away from these kinds of situations. But this isn't the first time so far this season. It's not nearly as significant as say, the problem which actually got him fired from the national team. But at the same time, he is still showing, this problem with holding it,
Yeah, I
his
mean,
stuff out. Yeah,
I think to be fair to him, I think people are looking at for him as well. I think Nahuel Guzman in Tigres. I think everybody knows what Herrera's like now, and so you can get to him. You can wind him up. So I think on Friday it was no on Saturday. Sorry, it was La Volpe who started with Herrera, but Herrera has to know that, and you're right, Cesar. He has to turn the other cheek and kind of walk away. But yeah, that was just weird. But yeah, I think Atlas. I mean, losing to Veracruz's first win. I mean, Atlas, big problems. Not a great atmosphere around the club right now. Rafa Marquez is due to speak this week, so let's see what he says about the situation. Big win for Santos. I mean, going up 3-0 against Pachuca, that was massive to start with, and then the
yeah.
fact that Pachuca came back to 3-2, and it looked like they were going to get the draw. But I thought Santos regrouped quite well and kind of got it together, and that's a big win because it comes off the back of what was it? What happened last week with Santos? Something happened good.
I mean, it's Santos. They haven't really been. I mean, they
The
did
CONCACAF
really,
Champions League.
yeah, they did really well
Yeah,
to start the season, and then they've been
yeah,
stumbling in recent weeks. So
yeah. But I mean, they're on. They're in fifth now, so they're back on course, and I think it was a big important win for Santos. It was important they didn't let a 3-goal win slip because I think psychologically that would have been massive. And then looking to Puebla, I thought put a really good fight against Cruz Azul. Obviously, that penalty save last minute didn't help Cruz Azul, but I think Cruz Azul are looking decent now. Tigres are looking a bit tired. I don't know what you think.
Gignac, he hasn't scored in his last two games. Maybe
It's a
maybe some
crisis.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I brought this up because I thought I didn't know if that was actually Christ. I mean, he's still the leading goal scorer. He's still up there on top.
Yeah,
He's scored more goals than everybody else. He's had 8 so far, but you rarely see him go more than one game in a row without
yeah,
scoring. So maybe it is his hair. You know, Tommy
maybe
mentioned that.
so. Yeah.
Maybe he's thinking about that hair.
Could be.
But but I mean, Tigres haven't scored for 2 games either because they lost the Clasico Regio 1-0, didn't it, to Monterrey?
Right.
So yeah, I just think they look a bit tired, and I thought Pumas did as well. To be honest, I mean, I think both of them. Well, they didn't have a preseason. They've not had the preseason. They've come straight into this season, and both of them have got kind of commitments, continental commitments. So you've got Tigres in the CONCACAF Champions League, and you've got Pumas in the Libertadores. So it's difficult for both those teams, and I thought, a 0-0 scoreline was, a pretty fair reflection. What else? Yeah, and I think the other one to point out was Morelia against Monterrey, because Monterrey won 3-1. You look at that scoreline and you think, yeah, standard victory, but for me it wasn't. I thought Morelia did decent. I thought they played quite well. I thought Monterrey weren't that good. I don't think they were as good as they have been, or can be. But I think it just proves, you look at the Monterrey goals and you see, especially Dolan Pavon, a bit of genius, and it's the same with that America game. Monterrey, these teams like Monterrey, Tigres, they've just got these individuals that you can be playing badly and things aren't happening, but then all of a sudden, so you've got talented enough players that they pull you out of it and they get you the result, and that's what happened with Monterrey Morelia.
No, actually, I didn't have a chance actually to watch that game, but if I remember correctly from what I saw, Morelia was winning 1-0, and then Rayados just had 3 goals in the second half, and it was basically just Dorlan Pabon just taking advantage of those opportunities. And it's almost, the thing is, Rayados at this point, they could probably afford to kind of coast, take their time. They have a 5-point cushion from I believe is it Leon? Is it Leon who's in second place right now? It might be Leon or Pachuca, but they have a 5-point cushion over second place, so they could. When they were relaxed and they weren't at their best, they still found that 3-1 victory, which, as you mentioned, Tom, it says a lot about those individual characters. The Cardonas, the Pavons, I mean, Rogelio Funes Mori, if needed as well.
Yeah, I think the only thing, I mean, it's not a big concern, but Jason is a Cruz Azul fan. I think he's been in the situation where a team dominates the regular season, and you look at Monterrey now, 24 points from 10 games. 25 points gets you in the playoffs, pretty much.
Yeah.
So Monterrey only need another point out of the last 7 games. So it looks like they're going to coast to it, and I don't know, can you keep up that momentum even though you're guaranteed the place in the playoffs? I mean, I think that's the only real question mark. Cesar Montes as well, the centre back who's been absolutely phenomenal for me over the last 12 months is out injured. I think we're still waiting for the prognosis about how long, but that will be a blow. Hopefully he's not out long, because like I've said before on the show, he's one of my favorite young Mexicans that I think's got a big future.
No, we're almost definitely. I think you're not the only. We're all giving him plenty of attention right now. We're seeing him as an option for the Olympics this summer. Yeah, I guess you basically wrapped it up. Other than Toluca 3, Dorados 0, and then basically, does that say more about Toluca or does that say more about Dorados? I don't know. I mean, from what
it doesn't say anything. It's just
it doesn't say anything.
Yep, that's about right. Moving on.
I mean, I think that says like adios Dorados. I mean, they needed a miracle. They still need a miracle. If I did my math right, it could be entirely wrong, but they need at least 16 or 17 points. To have a fighting chance. It's not just for safety.
Right.
They need 16 or 17 for a fighting chance. That's assuming that Chivas do terribly. That's assuming that Morelia, Puebla, all of them do terribly. So they're gone. They're
yeah.
There's. I'm sorry if you're a Dorados fan. I'm sorry if you're a member of the club and if you're watching this show, because I'm sure the whole team, to get insight for the upcoming weekend, they watch our show and somehow know how to speak English. They watch the Mexican soccer show. Jason, any other thoughts from you, really quickly, from Liga MX before we go on to the Europeos? Maybe you could say something about Chaco. Maybe starting to look good. He's starting the last game. He's got goals. He's got, I think it's 3 in his last 4 games. He's
looking great. He's looking. He's got like a little hop in his step. It's great. Like he's not expected to play 90 minutes at this point. So. Like he's getting a lot of spelled time, so with a lot of the other attacking options up there, so it's been good for Cruz Azul. Cruz Azul look pretty good. definitely a disappointing end to that game, but about right for Cruz Azul. And Puebla just kind of, it's what they do. They just kind of give everyone fits and make everyone look a little worse than they are, I think, at times. So
Yeah, they're good
expected.
little team. Good
They
little
really
team,
are.
Puebla.
They really are.
There's something about him, I don't know what it is. It's like that. Alustiza, I always think he's going to be rubbish. I always think, like, no, he's no good, this guy. You know, I don't know what he's got. And then he just does things, and you're like,
Yeah.
where did that come from? And he does it week in, week out as well.
That's
It's not
right.
like he's just from nowhere. He's consistently scoring good goals and kind of working harder than, don't know, for a striker, he works incredibly hard.
For me, that's a team like Puebla. If they could find their way in the Liguilla, like they easily could be one of those teams that could trap the top team with the upset, move on in the
Yeah.
Liguilla because they're gonna it's gonna be a close game no matter who they play every time. So I think that's definitely a team. If they could sneak in with that 8 seed, they're gonna cause somebody some trouble. I think.
Yeah, so many like unfashionable players as well.
That's
I think I
right.
said before, but it's almost like a bit of a Moneyball team. I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
I've got no
That's a good-
confidence. I've got no confidence that the people buying and selling at Puebla have actually read that or.
No,
you know,
it's definitely accidental Moneyball. Like there's no like deep analytics that went into like forming Puebla. That's definitely like it just happened kind of thing. But yeah, it does look like that because like Hobbit's out there just dominating and it's just
Pato Araujo,
but it's working. It's working.
bloody Flavio Santos, like Atlas reject, couldn't even get a game at Atlas. Just turns up, he's playing every week, playing his heart out. Like, but yeah, I love how we just named Puebla the accidental Moneyball team. The other team that I think is a bit Moneyball is Santos, because I think they get unfashionable players that have got a sell-on value, and I think that they actually do try and do that. They have actually thought about it. And you look at someone like Giannini and Andres Renteria, and you think that you know, or Ulises Davila, Nestor Calderon, you think, you know, if they have a couple of good seasons, then they'll get, you know, they'll get sold on for good money. Same with Marchesín. I mean, what's Marchesín worth now compared to what Santos bought him for? I mean, if he leaves Santos, they can charge a lot of money for him because, you know, he's an Argentine international now, and, you know, I think he's got a shot at the number one spot for Argentina.
Should. Yeah, he's been that good.
All right, sorry, I was taking care of some stuff on the side, but anywho, sorry.
Europeos?
Yeah.
Europeos, boom. Let's talk about Europeos. We talked about Liga MX, we talked about Chivas and America. Let's talk about the Europeos for a little bit. First off, I mean, we could talk about Ochoa, but before we go to Ochoa, let's talk about Carlos Vela. Tom, Carlos Vela, he said that he had some stomach problems. He missed practice for Real Sociedad, and this is after somewhat of a bright start for Vela in 2016. He had a couple goals, he had a couple assists. It looked like and he even put some like tweet out. I forgot exactly what he said. Basically saying like, I'm here to play Real Sociedad. This is all during the rumors of him going to Major League Soccer. So,
Yeah.
Tom, what does this mean? Do you think he's pushing away his Real Sociedad responsibilities, and is this kind of implying that maybe he will actually come to the United States during the summer? I mean, he only played 34 minutes. That was his punishment. But Tom, what are your thoughts?
Well, with Vela, I don't know. I mean, it looks like he's going to go because I think the manager over there at Real Sociedad was saying, you know, Vela's back with us. He's integrated. He's apologised. Everybody accepted the apology. But we don't know the future. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of the season. I mean, there's rumours that he's not happy in was it San Sebastian over there in the Basque Country, and so we'll see. But everything points to Vela coming to MLS, and I say that because where does Vela move from Real Sociedad, which is what? Let's be honest, middle table team in Spain. Has he done enough in the last 2 years, this season and last season, to move on from there? When I'm talking moving on, Villarreal or, you know, possibly a Valencia if they get their act together in the summer, Atletico Madrid, you know, one of the top German teams, a decent team in the Premier League. I'd say no. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I'd say he hasn't done enough. You know, he's clearly talented, but he hasn't got enough. He hasn't done enough. And these things where he's going to Chris Brown concert and then missing training, and saying he's got an upset stomach. It's like that doesn't sell him. That doesn't sell you to a big club.
I don't know,
No,
Jason.
yeah, I think like there could be interest from other clubs, but there's no. I mean, he has much more value to MLS teams, so they're going to pay a lot more money for him than any other team would. I mean, I think some other teams in Spain and Germany would take a look at him, but
Yeah.
they're not going to pay top dollar like MLS is going to pay, and that's what it's going to come down to. And I would bet, I don't know Carlos Vela, but knowing of him enough, I'm thinking he's going to look at that MLS move and hop on it. I mean, it seems like pretty well destined at this point.
I know, and I'm sure it's enticing to him. He's got his buddy Gio, who is over here, who looks like he's having a good time in LA. He may not be playing his best. I mean, his replacement, Mike McGee. How many Mexicanos can actually name Mike McGee? How many Americans could even name Mike McGee? Came on and he ended up doing much better than Gio in the first game of the MLS season. Looks like Gio had an injury, so I mean, yeah. No, I feel like it's tough for us Mexico fans to accept the fact that it looks like he could be destined.
Yeah, I don't think just the MLS thing. It's just disappointing for Mexico fans that you've got, for me, I don't know, one of Mexico's. I don't want to exaggerate, but one of the most talented Mexican players ever. I mean, is that an exaggeration? I mean, you speak to people here at Chivas in Guadalajara about Vela's talent when he was a kid, and you ask coaches who coached Vela and coached Chicharito, and you ask them about Vela, and it's like, and they go absolutely crazy. They go, unbelievable, best young thing I've ever seen. Like, it was just so easy for him. And then you ask him about Chicharito, and they're like, he got knocked down, he got up, he fought, he worked hard mentally. Even as a kid, he was unbelievably strong. Like, there's a big difference. It's like Vela is supremely talented in terms of a football player, but I don't think mentally he's there. I mean, he said he doesn't really like the game, and I think I said on the last show, you look at that Antoine Griezmann, who moved from Real Sociedad to Atletico Madrid, and now there's talk in the papers of Chelsea buying him and another massive move, and it's like you look at Vela and Griezmann, and a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, they were on the same level. Mm-hmm. They were both impressing, and now all of a sudden you look at the careers, and Vela might be going to MLS and Griezmann might be going to Chelsea, and that's the issue with Vela.
Yeah. And I think both were actually at the Chris Brown concert, but I'm sure Griezmann wasn't the kind of player who would miss out on a practice. But no, you have an excellent point. That was at the peak of the Vela days, and that was when it was really exciting to watch Real Sociedad. That's when it was a thrill to watch those two players work together. And as you mentioned, no, there's a significant difference. But yeah, I don't know, maybe Vela's.
Yeah, but I mean, Jason's right. MLS will pay him more. At the end of the day, these players are only, I know we criticise them and all that, but they're only human. If someone pays you, I mean, people watching, if someone pays you double or triple your salary, you'd be stupid not to think about it, wouldn't you?
Doesn't matter who you're working for at that point.
It doesn't,
I mean, your sporting career is much shorter than, say, like a writing career. Sometimes it would be dumb to turn down those huge amounts of money.
It depends on your ambition and where your priorities lie as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Vela's give no indication that his priority is in making the most out of his career, because obviously this thing with Mexico, where he didn't play for a few years, he missed out on World Cups, and it's like, he's a bit different, Vela. You know what I mean? He's a bit different.
Yeah. All right. So Vela, he only played 34 minutes in that match, which was a 1-0 loss to Celta Vigo. We could talk about Diego Reyes a little bit. We could talk about maybe Layun, but I think the other big news, really quickly before I do a little rundown of the rest of the scores, is Guillermo Ochoa. He had his first start of the season. His first start in Spain for La Liga. He's played in the Copa del Rey, but this was his first actual start for Malaga. And Jason, I'm going to go to you on this. Say he starts, he gets a call up this week and he starts next week's match. Would you say that does he deserve to start for Mexico even as soon as something as, let's say, the Canada matches this month? Would you say that Ochoa could he possibly do that?
He possibly could. I mean, I don't know. I think have the unpopular opinion that I would have considered him this summer, regardless of his playing time or not. But I don't know. I think Ochoa is still Ochoa, and if you thought he was the best Mexican goalkeeper before, he probably still is that now. So yeah, I mean, obviously now he can further prove himself on the field. So I'd get him into camp right away if I was Jay-Z there. But I think heading toward the summer, yeah, of course, he's gonna have a lot of new tape for everyone on that coaching staff to look at and to consider for the Mexican starting role. And I think he has a really good chance of starting some big games this summer for Mexico. Definitely.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with Ochoa. We'll see if he gets a call up. I mean, there are a few options right now. They're all in Mexico. We have, let's see, actually, now that I think of it, I was about to say Moises Munoz, but he's not even starting anymore. We have Hugo Gonzalez now and start for Medica. So now it's mostly, I would assume, it'll be Talavera, it'd be Chuy Corona, and some people don't like to hear his name, but Picolín Palacios, and the national team goalkeeper coach. They're still watching him. I keep tweeting about this. They're still watching him.
He just likes to go to games, maybe. I don't know. Okay.
He's just bored, apparently. But yeah, let's do a quick rundown of the scores. Chicharito's Bayer Leverkusen, they beat Hamburger 1-0. Yes, Hamburger. It's Hamburger, I believe, SLV or SV. But Chicharito did not score in the match. I know that's a little atypical for us to hear that, but we have to remember that he is kind of returning back to form a little bit. Diego Reyes, who played once again as a center mid, and more of a defensive mid for Real Sociedad. He played 90 minutes in the 1-0 loss to Celta Vigo. Layun, Hector Herrera, and Tecatito all played 90 minutes. Well, Tecatito played 89 minutes, was subbed out early, but they have essentially played the whole match. A 3-2 win over Madeira. Tecatito got the goal and the assist. Herrera got a goal, and Layun, believe it or not, didn't get an assist, but he has enough anyways, I'm sure. I'm sure he can go a game or two without scoring any. Moreno was part of the starting 11, obviously, for PSV in the 1-1 draw with Heerenveen. Guardado was arguably the man of the match. In that draw, he had 69 passes, and he had 11 interceptions in that draw. And then one more, we got Marco Fabian, who might be struggling a little bit. And the 3-0 loss to Borussia Mönchengladbach, he only played 54 minutes, and it looks like he may not be perhaps reaching the expectations that certain fans had for Fabian. Looks like we're already at 7:54. We could go into the Europeos a little bit, but I want to keep the show going. But really quickly, anything about any of those Europeos before we go on to really quickly on the CONCACAF Champions League, the Champions League, and potential players we'll see in El3's roster.
Not much. Just what'll happen to Fabian if Eintracht Frankfurt go down? I mean, it looks like they're going to get relegated. So, I mean, if that happens, then what happens with Fabian? It's like, it'll be interesting to see what he does. I mean, you can't see him playing in the second division in Germany, can you?
No, I doubt he would want to play in the second division in Germany.
Porto, maybe.
Porto.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to the Champions League. That's why I'm wearing my PSV jersey for best of luck for Guardado and Moreno tomorrow. Wearing this, hopefully it helps them out. But tomorrow they're taking on Atletico Madrid. It's an aggregate score right now of 0-0, so PSV did not allow any goals at home. Jason, your thoughts? How significant would it be for Hector Moreno and Andres Guardado to potentially moving to the quarterfinals of the Champions League if they can get past Atletico Madrid?
Well, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, just the game itself, going into Atletico and getting the victory, moving on to the next stage of the Champions League. It's massive. It can't be understated how big that would be. Certainly for fans of L3, watching Guardado moving on and Moreno moving on would be huge. But just for PSV in general, just a massive game for them. Getting a result there would be huge. Moving on. So I mean, it's going to be a great game. Hopefully they can pull it off. We'll see. I mean, they're certainly not favored to get the result here, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly difficult, this game. I mean, I'm looking at it now and it's like Atletico Madrid haven't lost at home to to in the league to another team apart from Barcelona since December 2014.
That's a long time.
And their defense is amazing too. I forget the actual amount of goals that they've allowed, but it's something ridiculously small. I'll ask the chat. Maybe someone can point it out. But
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can, overestimate the challenge there. I mean, PSV did really well to get that 0-0 in the first leg, and I think that's a decent result. Obviously, they would have liked to score, but against one of Europe's top teams, this is. I mean, it might not have the glamour of Real Madrid, but the 4 points clear of Real Madrid in the league. This is a top team under Simeone, and you got Godin, who for me is one of the very, very best defenders in the world. I mean, this is a team that I think PSV are going to struggle against. I mean, they've obviously got to get that away goal, and if you can get an early away goal, set piece or something. I would point out that De Jong, the striker, who missed the first leg and who apparently is attracting interest from outside of Holland, he's back. I think he's going to be playing. So I think that's a boost. But if PSV can get an early goal, I think then it's game on, because Atletico are going to come forward, and then PSV could potentially get a second. But it's a massive test, and Moreno, especially in the defence there, he needs a massive game. But these are the games, I think I've said before, these are the games that you want to see the Mexican players in. These are the absolute elite games for Moreno and Guardado. They've been there, they've seen it all before. But this is where you want to see them in the best competition in the world in terms of quality. Better than the World Cup, this is the elite competition in world football, and you want to see him going into the Calderon and testing themselves against one of the elite European teams. So I can't wait for it, and I've got no doubt that Moreno and Guardado, two I think of Mexico's best players. I mean, very, very good players that they're going to do really well. I don't know whether the rest of PSV have got the talent to take them past Atletico Madrid, but I absolutely can't wait to see how they do.
Yeah, best and also consistent. That's what I love seeing about them, is they're rare doubts for me when I see those two players, and I'm very excited to see Guardado once again, just because he's my favorite player to watch. I mean, obviously you have players like Tecatito who can do exciting runs, they do their moves, but there's something about watching Guardado play. Is just so professional, so smart, so intelligent. That's one of my favorite things. Right, he's right now probably my favorite player to watch in Mexican soccer. So I think
I mean, I think he's the example. Guardado, he's the player. We've just been talking about Vela, and a little bit about Giovanni, and forget that. Guardado's a leader. He steps up. Even a few years ago, he was talking about he could make more money in Mexico. He could do this. He could do that. But he's forged a very good career. And at the end of the day, in a couple of years, he'll be able to come back to Mexico and make a lot of money. I mean, I'm sure he'll come back to Atlas and end his career there. But that's the example, I think, for players, not Vela, obviously. And let's see what happens in the summer. I know I've said this before, but PSV are a selling club.
Yeah.
How many clubs would like Guardado the way he's played over the last 2 years since the World Cup?
And he's not an old player either. I think he's only 28, 29. He must be. He's at the peak of his career right now, and he's potentially going to be having a historic season. I mean, he's taken this team, the Champions League. He's a leader in the club. We'll see what he does in the Copa America. He's a very enticing player, and I'm sure.
I don't think we need to see what he does in the Copa America. I think he's the player you can say this is what Guardado is. You know what you're going to get for him. Yeah. You know exactly what you're going to get for him. Whereas Vela, you don't.
Yeah.
He could be brilliant. He could play for Real Madrid or Barcelona, Vela, in terms of talent. Yeah. But is he ever going to reach that? Probably not. Whereas Guardado and Moreno, you know exactly what they got. You know the limitations, but you're going to get that. What you said, a consistency, which is absolutely key. But honestly, I think come this summer, I think we're going to see a good few clubs looking at Guardado and Moreno. I mean, I'm talking about from La Liga and even the Premier League, and being like, these are players that have done really well over the last few years in a very good team. So let's get them. I mean, it's a no-brainer, really. I think for a team of a certain level.
Yeah. So we got about 9 minutes left here. speaking of the Champions League, we're about to talk about the more significant version of the Champions League competition. No, not the UEFA Champions League. Talk about the CONCACAF Champions League. All the world, they're very excited. They're waiting to figure out about Querétaro Tigres, Santos America. Everybody, all over there following these lit matches. I mean, I was talking to Jason. I'll be honest here. I was talking to Jason about this earlier. I do kind of wish that there was an MLS team because looking at these matchups, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not that excited. I'm gonna be real. I'm not that excited about. I mean, we have Querétaro Tigres the first leg tomorrow, and on Wednesday we have Santos America, and it just kind of feels like a regular Liga MX match. It feels
Yeah, or Copa
maybe
Americas.
or Copa MX, yeah, because it's during the middle of the
Even
week.
worse.
But looking at these teams, I mean, Jason, let's go to you.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the favorites? I mean, you could say there's some obvious ones, but would you say Tigres and America, they're more than likely going to be going through to the finals of the Champions League, the CONCACAF Champions League.
I think they'd probably be the favorites, but I think you'd have to look at this point, especially with the games played, America and Santos kind of being a bit of a toss-up. That could really kind of go either way for me. But I don't know. I mean, there's little bits. I mean, I think America Santos could be just interesting games in general and be pretty exciting games. And Querétaro Tigres, at least you have that Tuca and Vucetich kind of meeting again has kind of add some interest to it. But I mean, yeah, it's not super exciting in the semifinals, but you never know. You get in these cup competitions. At least you have that Club World Cup dangling carrot out there where maybe you see teams really put out some kind of special performance. And when that starts to become more of a reality, that kind of the intensity of the games and the determination to come out with a result kind of I don't know, kind of reflect and make it an interesting matchup. At least toward the second legs, we'll see.
Yeah.
Tom,
And I think you've got, on the positive side, I think you've got four institutions that really want to get to that Club World Cup. I mean, Querétaro, we've seen with Ronaldinho that they've got that ambition to kind of, go to the next level. And we saw at the weekend, Querétaro played a lot of the reserve players or the fringe players in the Liga MX because they're saving them for the Tigres game. And obviously the Vucetich, he's had a lot of success with Monterrey in this competition. So yeah, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, like we've said, you put Tigres favourite, but you never know, do you, in these competitions? And then Santos, a team that obviously one of the only teams with an English language Twitter account. They've got a bit of a more of a worldly vision than other Liga MX clubs. And then America, I mean, it's the centenary. So they're absolutely desperate to make it back to the Club World Cup and kind of make amends for the disaster that was like last year. So yeah, so I mean, if that's what's on the line, I agree with you, Cessa. I mean, the whole competition needs MLS teams basically to be better. I mean, you can make the excuses about the preseason, and they are justified. Is obviously you speak to enough players, and I don't think they're lying. I mean, it definitely does hamper. But then again, I mean, I don't think they make enough effort in terms of the planning before these games. I mean, the MLS teams have known about these, or they had known about the games since like November. And you look at like Montreal Impact, what they did last time by coming down to Mexico really early to get prepared for these games. And I don't think the teams this time did that. And I think that showed. And yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's not good for the competition. But I think it does highlight the strength the Mexican leagues have. I mean, I think the quality of players, especially the foreign from South America, the Mexican league just simply has the ability to pluck these players. I mean, some of the reserve players that, what's he called, Zelerayan from Tigres, he's a top player. Yeah. and he's on the Tigres bench. I mean,
yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I would say that I think. I mean, as I mentioned, it's just. I wish I was a little bit more excited. I do wish maybe a team like Seattle Sounders, just because I really like the atmosphere that you will see in those Seattle games. The huge, you'll just see like 50, 60,000 fans showing up to these matches, and I wish there was a team like that there. But it is what it is. It is a little bit unfair. They didn't have, Liga MX teams had about 6 to 7 weeks to prepare. But then again, as you mentioned, Tom, they themselves prepared for these matches a little better. So to wrap things up, really quickly, it's Mexico is going to be playing, and believe it or not, I mean we're talking about Liga MX, we're talking about Chivas America, Europeos, CONCACAF Champions League, but Mexico, El Tri, they're still having it. They're going to be having a game, believe it or not, next week. So it's going to be next Friday against Canada, and then 4 days afterwards, they're going to be traveling down to the Estadio Azteca to take on Canada once again in Mexico. So recognizing that, it seems like the roster. I know Tom. I don't know if you've heard. I mean, I assume the roster's gonna be coming out this Thursday. That tends to be the trend, but it seems like at some point this week it'll be coming out. But going to both you guys, and just wrap up the show. Is there a certain player you want to see in this roster? Is there a certain player that you don't want to see? So I'll ask you. Let's go. Yeah, Tom. Let's go to you first. Really quick. Is there a player that you would like to see? A player you don't want to see? Just general thoughts on the upcoming roster.
There's been conflicting reports in the media here about the nature of this squad. I think you had Medio Tiempo reporting that a couple of the younger Olympic players might be involved, even though the under-23s are actually going to go to Europe for a couple of preparation games during the international break. So, Eric Gutierrez, Pizarro, Salcedo, and Lozano. I say Lozano or Gutierrez. They all blend into one now. But but
those Pachuca guys.
Those Pachuca kids, yeah. So Medio Tiempo reported that, and then I think Esto was reporting that actually Giovanni Dos Santos is going to be back, and Ochoa is going to be there. I mean, I think if you ask me what I'd like to see, I think I'd like to see Giovanni not in and Vela not in.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good for Osorio to send them a message and saying, get your act together. If you want to be in this team, get your act together, pick up some form, be consistent, because neither of the players have been consistent. I mean, it'd be a big call for Osorio, but I just think I'd prefer to give Lozano, a kid who seems to be a really hardworking kid with ambition, or Pizarro, than a Giovanni or Vela at this point.
Jason, your thoughts on what Tom said, or maybe just on which players you yourself would like to see in the roster, or which players you would want to see left out?
I definitely like the aforementioned Ochoa. I'd like him to show up and make an appearance in the national team again. But beyond that, I mean, I think just a good mix of veterans and youth. I'd probably prefer to have an experienced back line. Some of those, I think what Osorio's doing and bringing some of those kind of lost players who've been lost in the Mexican team shuffle and kind of finding their way back in. Some of those guys I like to see, making sure you're bringing in someone like a Jesus Molina, Hugo Ayala, these kind of guys that have the experience, have played with some of these other players in the back, and it can be a little consistent in this game, and then throw a lot of the youth up front in the midfield. A lot of these players that we're talking about, the Pachuca guys and so forth, if you can get them there to this game, getting that youth playing with the experience a bit. I know it's an easier, I don't know, it's not really specific, but I mean that's kind of what you want to see. You don't want to see a wholesale kind of all the old guys rolled out, guarantee you kind of get the wing thing, but you don't want to throw out kind of an experimental kind of mishmash of players that haven't played with each other very often. So it's kind of a setback line is what I would be hoping for, and then kind of a little more experimental in the front.
Yeah, a couple of players that I think of, maybe out, or not out, but on the fringe. I think Moises Munoz, obviously, he didn't start for America, so I think he's a doubt. And I think that coincides with Ochoa coming back, so I imagine it's going to be the old trio of Talavera, Ochoa, and Chuy Corona as the three goalkeepers. That's going to be interesting to see. I think Jurgen Damm as well. I've been disappointed over the last few weeks with his performances, and I think he started on the bench of the weekend. Yeah. I just don't think he's doing. I think he's been overshadowed by Aquino, and I think by Damian Alvarez when he's been coming on. So I don't know. It's a difficult one. We got someone here mentioning Francisco Lobato is saying Eric Aguirre from Morelia. I think he's one that's definitely coming on. I think physically he's looking a lot stronger this year, but I think he's going to go with the under-23s. I don't think he's quite ready for that step up into the big first team, but definitely a player to watch out for. I hope. I don't know. Not going to say anything about Picolin.
Hey, you know what? I think whether we liked him or not, I'm gonna say he's having a good season. I'm not gonna say he's Mexico's best goalkeeping option. I'm not gonna say he's Mexico's second best goalkeeping option. But he's having a good season and he's he's doing well. He kept Tigres to no goal. I mean, they couldn't score against Picolín.
Yeah.
He's
But
not my
but if you see some of the saves though, it's like
yeah,
he's a street goalkeeper. Like he's playing on the street with his, he slides out with his feet first and stuff. It's like I don't know. I mean, it worked. Don't get me wrong, it did work. But it's like technically, I'm sure that's not like the way that you taught to be a goalkeeper. But then again, Jorge Campos, he wasn't exactly the model of goalkeeping technique, but he did a great job.
But we'll see if he gets a call. As I mentioned,
Jorge Campos, or
yeah, go yeah, bring him in, might as well. Who cares about Ochoa Talavera or or
more
Munoz
players
or,
who can more players who can play in different roles and stuff like. That's the future. That's the future.
All right. So, any final thoughts? I know thank you to everyone who stuck around. Thank you everyone who were patient with us, patient with Tom's problems for not recognizing daylight
Time.
time in the country he literally does not live in. Yeah. Any quick thoughts on anything? Chivas, America, Liga MX, Europeos, Champions League, Conca Champions League, El Tri, anything. It doesn't even have to be soccer related for all I care.
It took all of my strength and willpower to not reference the infamous. Well, my brain is falling apart at this moment. But when we were talking about Carlos Vela before, not talking about Allen Iverson in his practice press conference was like one of the hardest things I've ever done with all that practice talk. But anyway.
The what? Say it again.
Allen Iverson, like the classic Allen Iverson practice. Talking about practice, well, anyway, now I've done it, but.
No, I didn't start really watch NBA until about like 5
okay.
or 6 years
well,
ago.
I'm glad I didn't because that reference would have been lost on you guys and it would have been weird. But now it's weird anyway. So
I know he's short and he's very good at basketball.
There you go.
All I know.
What's this NBA you talk about?
It's kind of like soccer. Pretty similar. Tom, any final thoughts on anything? Anything? Chivas, America, Liga MX, blah 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 blah, whatever.
Not really. Just continue to be disappointed with Guadalajara teams. The Guadalajara teams, Chivas and Atlas. It's like, it looks like it's going to be another season for me without Liguilla on my doorstep, and makes me a bit depressed. Anyway.
There was some promise for Atlas there at the beginning of the season, but things have gone downhill pretty quickly.
Well, what happens at Atlas? They won one game against Querétaro, and then all the fans are like, yeah, we're really good this season. And then it's like, oh no, we're not that good. Go back.
Wait, why are we putting all this trust in Rafa Marquez?
I don't know. I don't know. You know what though? I don't know. I might ask Rafa, but if he speaks this week, but I'm almost like the with Atlas now. Just make Rafa Marquez the manager or the sporting director, or just give him control because he clearly loves the club. He does love the club. He knows his football. He's been around a lot. He's an intelligent guy. I don't know. It's just like do something good. Change the history. You know what I mean? Why isn't Atlas like Tigres? Why isn't Atlas like Monterrey? On paper, it could be better than those clubs, but just I'm looking at the league table now, just like 17th, 17th place. Like no. Anyways,
hey, keep us updated. Maybe we'll talk about that in next week's Mexican Soccer Show.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to Tom. Thanks to Jason. Thanks to everyone who was patient with me as well. I don't know if this is more like the Ochoa game where he allowed 3 goals as soon as he came in. I don't know if this is the Ochoa game where he kept a clean sheet, but you guys just let me know. Be sure to subscribe to our show. You guys can probably see it right now. Just look right below. It's probably right there. I think Wiso keeps pointing to the wrong direction. I think it's right there, guys. This is why I'm taking over. Yeah, subscribe to our shows if you want to keep updated on everything. We do shows on Monday. We also do quick shows on Thursdays. And yeah, and thanks to everyone. And I don't know. I guess I'm out of thank you. So I guess we're done now. So adios, and until next time. Thanks, guys.